Sunday. Hey, this morning we're talking about inner conflict. And really this was on my mind because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last night just via text. And I was sharing with my friend just how I've experienced inner conflict professionally. And as a matter of fact, I kind of go in and out of inner conflict, and I never feel like I really have it all solved or everything worked out. But I was just thinking through, number one, the reality of inner conflict. Now, how many of you guys would say that there are things inside of your brain that just battle? You know what I mean? Your brain is just kind of going at it. And you have conflicting thoughts, you have conflicting feelings, conflicting beliefs maybe. And that conflict creates restlessness, it creates sleeplessness, just inner turmoil inside of your thought life. And the fact is, it's very hard to go forward. It's very hard to break out of procrastination. It's very hard to break out of paralysis as long as you're continuing to experience this internal conflict. I remember reading Tony Robbins years and years ago, and he was talking about, of course, creating great success and maximizing your potential. And he was talking about making sure that your toolbox is full. He was going over how to create a plan and all of those things. But he said something that has stuck with me all these years. He said, before you can even get to your tools, before you can work on your plan, the first thing that you have to do is you have to solve your internal conflicts. You have to solve your internal conflicts. He went on to talk about what those internal conflicts look like, what they do to us, how they take us out of our game, how they keep us from being productive and effective. And that's always stuck with me, and now I kind of recognize it when I have those internal conflicts. And so in this conversation last night, I told my friend, I said, hey, just professionally, I have some internal conflicts, and these are things that I have to work on and I have to resolve before I can be completely productive. Now, maybe I can operate at 40, 50, 60%, but for me to really give it my best, for me to really give it that 90 to 100% of my potential, I have to be so laser focused and believe 100% in everything that I'm doing, because I lead really a lot from the heart and passion, and I have to solve those internal conflicts. So as we start, maybe kind of think in your own mind, what some of those conflicts may be. And you may not experience any internal conflicts, and that's awesome. But really begin to think and, go through your thought life. When you're alone, when you lay down at night, when you're on a long drive in your car, what are some of those thoughts? And are you going back and forth between two possible solutions or two possible actions? What are those internal conflicts? Many times they can be relational, they can certainly be professional, they can show up in so many different parts of our life, but they almost always paralyze us and keep us from moving forward. And here's what I've noticed: a lot of people will keep internal conflicts in their life for literally months or maybe even years. So the first thing I would say is stop ignoring internal conflicts. Stop pushing those conflicts to the side and find a way to meet them head on and make the tough decisions and deal with those conflicts. And I'm certainly right in the middle of that in a couple of things in my life. And going ahead and doing something about it. Here's a couple of things that I would say. The first thing I would do, and here's what I've done, as with almost anything that I'm trying to solve, whether it's personal, whether it's a relational, if it's a work conflict or whatever it is, I want to write it down. I really want to describe that conflict on paper. I think there's power in just taking your thoughts and your emotions and expressing it, right? Expressing it on paper. I think there's something powerful in that, and just kind of unloading it Because the fact is, many times if it's just in our minds, there are so many thoughts coming, and there are so many cross thoughts and on and on and on, that it's sometimes difficult to have a very clear picture of exactly what the conflict is, where it's coming from. So writing it down, I think, provides something very clear. You get a sense of clarity about what the issue is. And you might kind of be surprised after you write it down that what the conflict actually is. And then secondly, here's what I'm working on, is defining, what your values are as it relates to that conflict. I've often heard it said that, we do what we feel we should do, and sometimes we do what we feel we ought to do because of what other people expect. But what are our values as it relates to that conflict? For example, maybe you have, say it's a conflict at work, and you really want to work for yourself, because you want to have that time freedom or financial freedom, the potential. And you have that conflict because you're at a job, you get paid, a decent amount. Do I stay here forever because I have security? That's what my friends say I should do. Or should I step out on a limb and go start something different? And it's an internal conflict. So you have to write down your values as it relates to that conflict. What are your values? Do you have a value that says that all things are possible? Do you have a value that says that you deserve time freedom? Do you have a value that says, your children deserve more of your time? And as it is right now, you're working, very long days. You're having to commute an hour each way. And so you're not able to be with your family as much. What are the values as it relates to that conflict? Because here's what I believe. I believe that anytime that we're having these types of discussions, whether, internally or even externally with someone else, we have to make decisions that come out of our true self. I mean, what is your true self? What are your true feelings? What are your true beliefs? What are your true values as it relates to that conflict? Take everything else out. Take other people's opinions out. Take what you think other people think you ought to do out. What does your true self say about this situation? I mean, at the end of the day, when everything else is stripped away, what does your true self say about it? Because you want to operate out of truth. You want to operate out of being true to you and true to your values and these things that should be non-negotiable inside of your life. And then ask yourself, what is truth in general about this situation? Not speculation, not someone else's opinion, but what's the concise truth as it applies to this situation? And then once I've written it down, I have a very clear understanding of it. I understand what my values are. Understand what the truth is about the situation. Now, kind of thirdly, and this is the tough part, I want to take big action toward it. I want to take big action toward it. Now, maybe I don't have to solve everything with this action. Maybe I can't. But let's go back to the example of the guy that's wanting the time and financial freedom. But, he also needs the security of the paycheck because he has a family. Well, to really get beyond this internal conflict, there needs to be big action. So maybe the big action could be starting something part-time while keeping the full-time for 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is, but with the plan that the part-time is going to be bigger than the full-time. Right? And so you work the plan and you build the plan and you do whatever you have to do in the part-time to get there, right? But you have to take an action toward it. And sometimes that first action isn't the final action. Sometimes you find out it was the wrong action, but it's okay because now we're moving toward a solution and we're closer to what is actually going to work in the process. Here's my big thought on all of this. We're always going to have these conflicts. There's always going to be these battles in our minds. But at some point, instead of pushing them away, we have to face them head on and confront them. And even if your first action isn't perfect, keep creating thought and keep creating action that's true to you, that gets you closer and closer to where you want to be. That's so good. You have to start somewhere. Action will move you forward either way. I absolutely believe that. Hey guys, thanks for being on this morning. I apologize. I'm walking around this plaza and it was kind of too loud. I was in a Starbucks coffee shop and it was too loud where I was. But thank you guys for being on this morning. We love you so much. We'll see you first thing in the morning. And again, if you're in Tulsa, make sure you go to paulnewman.com, get registered for the Best You event coming up this Sunday. Love you so much, guys. Have a great day.